Okay, so let's start the afternoon session so we can go home early. I can go home early. I'm not so sure where you have to go home. Okay. So back from this early morning, we have what we have without using visual code. Let's go see inside the folder. My projects, every projects I have will be here in this document projects. Right now I only have one, bootcamp, but in the future I will have more. I will have more of this. But only now, just now I only have bootcamp. So inside this bootcamp, these are the files I have. So Docker file, Docker compose, and these two folders that is required for me to run these projects. So this morning we ensure that there's no matter what happened for how long from today, this project can be continued using Docker Compose up and down. We have done that, but that is not yet safe because now this code only exists in my local machine, and there is a high chance that I can lose this data because it only have one copy. So the thing we are going to learn in this afternoon is GitHub. You can see it as a backup plan, as a way to store your file on the file server. But the correct term of the GitHub is a repository in the same fashion as the Docker Hub. We have the projects and we're going to save our code into the GitHub. And everybody is, no matter who it is, can download our code and have an access to our source code, including us. So one day, if my hard drives fail and I lost this on my local machine, I can still pull from the GitHub and my project is safe because I have two copies, both on GitHub and in my local machine. If the GitHub failed and my local machine also failed at the same time, then I also lose access to the source code. But that is unlikely. Okay, so we're gonna take a look at GitHub first. So this is GitHub. It's a combination of two things. GitHub is a website, and Git is a command. Just like when you have Docker, Docker is a program, and Docker Hub is a website. So you have GitHub, you have GitLab. This is also the other website doing similar thing to the GitHub. But here in AIT, I think we use mostly GitHub. When you go out and maybe you have to work in some company, maybe they require you to use GitLab. And some of the company, they are very strict with sharing source code to the cloud. So they will have their own Git server. But anyway, we will learn GitHub. And I will not trying to let you remember the command. So we're going to use something else, which is GitHub desktop. In a typical way, we will use Git command to interact with Git. And if you install the Git command on your machine, the VS Code can also interact with the Git using this tab. But I like GitHub desktop more because I think it's better to use with the GitHub. So I'm going to use GitHub desktop. So you find this website, desktop.github.com. And then whatever computer OS you use, you download your version. So while we are waiting for this to download, let's make sure that you have an account to the GitHub. So you go to github.com, sign up. So here you put your email. I recommend you to use your personal account instead of AIT account, but you don't have AIT account yet. You will get it on this Friday. So for now, you use your personal account. And one way to, this give you one benefit is because in these few years, the recruiter or the headhunter start looking at your GitHub, and the GitHub then become your like one of your CV, become your resume, become your profile. So whatever work you have done, if it's on GitHub, then it's just be a part of your achievement. So we use GitHub. So just put in your personal account. I already have one, so I will wait for you to go through this. Okay. Security. So when you have an account and then you log in, this should be your first page, the GitHub. The GitHub also has a collaboration with the university and academic. Normally, they do not allow you to set your repository as a private repository, or they only allow you to have up to 2 repositories as a private, because they want your source code to be in their computer, in their server, and everyone can use as a content. But if you pay GitHub, you can have more private. And if you sign up the GitHub using an academic account, you will have unlimited private repository, but you don't need 2 separate accounts. What you can do is you go to your setting, and in here, you go to account, I guess. No, I'm not deleting my account. Emails. Yeah. So you go to setting, you find emails here, and then you register your email, the AIT email. So right now I have this one. This is my email for the AIT. So if you want to email me, you use this one. When I bind this email to my personal account, because of AIT has not so sure collaborate with GitHub, so it's grant me the unlimited private access, private repository. So if I check my plans, I don't have to pay, and I think this is my current plan. Unlimited private repository. But if you haven't buying your emails, AT email, you probably have like 2 private repositories currently. Okay. So I will wait for everyone to have a GitHub account first. So in the meanwhile, I will also install my GitHub desktop. So that's it. Yeah, I mean. So assuming everyone have a GitHub account, and if you're trying to install the GitHub desktop, then after you log in, then if this is your first login, then it will ask you to configure the Git, which is the command itself. Because of the GitHub account, it's automatically filling your name and your email, but this is not mandatory to be like this. So you can change this. This email account can be changed, but it's just supposed to match your GitHub account, so you have an access to the repository. And this name can be just any name. You can name like unique name, and if you have like 10 computer, each computer can have different name. So but this name will appear on the GitHub when you upload the thing called commit, if you buy with this name. So sometimes you might want to remember where is this commit come from, even though you are the one who make a change, but maybe you want that, but I stick with my full name. So, but this can be changed later. So I will just click finish here. And then this should be, you should see this. If you are new to GitHub, you won't have this list of repository. Because I have been using repository, so I have these list of repository. So it's okay. For now, when you have the repository, you should land here first. Okay. So now we're going to make a repository, which means we are now going to put our projects into a GitHub website. So if you check let's check in the website, and if you go here, where your profile, not profile, sorry, your repositories. These are the list of repository I have, but if you're new, you have nothing. So there are 3 or 4 ways you can start a new repository. A new repository is per project. So you have one project, you will have one repository for that project. But this also depends on how you want to manage the repository. Sometimes we have multiple projects in one repository. It's also possible, but the best practice, I think the best practice is to have one project for one repository. So we're going to, this morning we have this bootcamp projects. So now we're going to upload this bootcamp projects into our GitHub repository. So I'm going to show you 2 ways you can start a new repository. You can start a blank repository inside the GitHub. So you click new, and then you name the repository here. It can be whatever the name. It does not need to match any of this. Just bootcamp 1. Then you can also have space. So it has to be either dash or that. And you can have this public or private. If you set it to private, then this source code cannot be shared to others unless you grant an access to them. But I'm okay, I'm gonna say public. These are the options that can, yes. Okay, I can go through this. Okay, I will come back to this later. But for now, this license means even though we share our code to everyone, it doesn't mean anyone can just use it freely. It depends on whether we want to allow them to use with a certain condition. If you want to do that, then you might want to study this license. Some license allow them to use but not modify. Some license does not allow them to use commercially. So you have some protection over your in your properties, I guess. But I'm okay. As I said, no license. Actually, I don't know which license I should use. Normally, I use this one. Yeah, I'm gonna use this one. So I'm gonna create repository. And now I have the repository. Just like this. If I want to share this repository, I can use this link and send to anyone who use this link will come to this page. If someone want to download my repository, they can use this one, code, and there are a bunch of ways you can download this repository. You can just download using zip. So we zip everything and then just download, just like from the Google Drive. I can open this in GitHub desktop. Actually, this now should appear here in my GitHub desktop. So if I type bootcamp, can I refresh? Yeah. So now this also appear in my GitHub desktop. I can click this to get my source code using GitHub desktop, which is similar. This should do the same thing here. Or the older way, if you are like old GitHub user, then you'll probably be more familiar with copying this HTTPS and use command git clone to do things. Yeah, these are the similar things. But I want you to use GitHub desktop for now, so you don't have to remember commands if you are the new GitHub user. So we're going to download this code via GitHub desktop. I chose this one and I clone. I chose where I want it to be. Now it's going to be a little bit confused because we're going to have a folder what we have created this morning and another folder which we download from the GitHub. Clone. Okay. So now that I clone, I can check my project folder. Now I have bootcamp-1, which is the repository containing license file. This one, exactly the same. And if I want to, if I want to move my initial code that I developed this morning to the repository, it's just as simple as copy this, upload this, go to bootcamp-1 and just manually copy into this folder. When you copy this, you go back to GitHub desktop. The git command automatically detects a new change in this folder, and it lists all the changes here. So you have a chance to select which one you want to upload to the Git repository, to the GitHub repository. We will talk about which one we choose commit to the Git repository, but for now, I'm gonna use a bad practice. I think I'm gonna do the bad practice so you don't have to follow me. Just commit. $300 changes. Wow. With this break. This is a very bad practice. I'm gonna show you the bad way first. And I'll show you the proper way. Not the proper way, a better way. Work very hard trying to commit this one. That's not even all. It's another 6,000 changes. Yeah. I'm gonna try push this one to show you that how to upload this file into the GitHub. Okay, so now it's finished the push. Some of the file has been uploaded here. So here, only this one. And these are the file that has been commit to the repository, and I push those commits. Actually, one commit to the repository, which means anybody who try to download this repository, they will have these files right away currently. So yeah, so these 6,000 changes, just make a new commit to commit all of them, I guess. But that's the bad way. So now we have to make some decision first. Actually, we have to make some decision whether which files supposed to go into the repository. We should not upload everything. The thing that we should didn't upload is first the log file, second the cache file, third is this extension file, because this can be installed easily. So we shouldn't upload this to repository. So first, you can manually deselect these, but you will have to do this every time you want to commit. So it's not the way. The better way to do it is to use the thing called git ignore. So right click, new file, type .git ignore. Yeah, if you type it correctly, then this icon change into git icon. Earlier, I told you that when I move these folder into, oh no, this is not the one. Sorry, I have to open this one. Okay. Okay. Earlier, I told you that when I copy those codes, these files into the repository, the Git detect all the changes or all the new things happen in the folder, including this folder, including these files, including all of these files. We can tell Git that you don't need to check certain file and certain folder. Ignore those. That's why it's called ignore. Just tell them to ignore this folder. So we have to list down the file and the folder, or the folder we want the Git to ignore. So in this case, I want to ignore this VS Code server. So what I do is I type .VS Code server, yeah, no, server, yeah. When I save and I go back to the Git, all those files inside VS Code server is now gone, and all left is these files, this one, and this one, and including this one that is for some reason not ignoring. So you don't need to manually deselect those files anymore. This basically ignore entire folder. I'm gonna make this change. So let's say we have a log folders where we have so many logs. Another thing that we don't want to put into the Git repository. So let's say app.log, server.log. Okay. Let's just say that we have these files we don't want. So when we have those files, it will appear on the changes here. So if you don't want this folder to be kept in the repository, we go to ignore, and then we specify the folder here. This time, if I want to ignore this log, what I have to do is source code/logs. So when I say folder, you have to specify the path to that folder, which is source code and logs. Then those logs are no longer appear in the Git because it has been ignored. This is how we ignore the entire folder. But sometimes we want to keep the folder, but not the file inside the folder. So what you can do is you can /star. When we slash, we basically go inside the folder. Instead of pointing to the folder, we point inside the folder. This star mean is a regular expression meaning anything inside this log folder. Can be anything. So now, but as you can see, the log folder is still not appear in the Git repository here in the changes. Because the way Git works, it does not make a folder, it make a path to the file. So if the folder is empty, so there is no file in that folder, so there is no file in the Git. So there is no folder. The way we fix this is we create a file called .keep. Sometimes keep, sometimes keeps. And then we go here and tell the Git ignore everything except .keep. Then this keep will be detected by the Git and it's appear here. So when we push this, when I make a commit and push it to the repository, there will be a folder logs with only .keep inside the folder. And universally, everyone knows that this is the required folder, but everything inside has to be ignored this way. It's just an empty folder. Why do we have to push the folder an empty folder? Because sometimes our code requires this folder and it cannot run without the folder, even though everything inside the folder is not needed to be in the repository, but we still need this folder. So we have to keep the folder, and one way to do it is use this way. This is not a requirement to use the file name .keep, but it's a universal practice that everyone who use Git will use .keep to keep the folder, and explicitly say specifying the .git ignore to keep .keeps. So this is ignore this and not ignore this. Okay, there is another way. It depends which way you like. So I'm not gonna remove all of this. My logs appear here again, along with .keeps. The other way you can just ignore the log is star.log. Earlier, I told you the star means anything. So in this case, I put the star along with the file extension. So anything in with .log must be ignored. So in the Git itself, all the log file is not appear. Only .keep is stay because it didn't end with .log. So you can do this way too. Now it's you have an option to play which way you like better. It's up to you. Right. So it is a good practice before you commit the change. You see every file that you're about to commit or save into the Git repository. Check whether these are the files you want. So if these are the files you want, then, okay, I don't want these files, so I'm gonna deselect it for now. Then here, you type the message. Every time you make a save, it's like a snapshot of the current status, the current state of this folder. These are the change, and I want to save this state. And the correct term in the Git, say commit. You commit this change. This is the change you want. When we say this is because sometimes you write the code. You write the code here. This is changes, but it won't be safe until you make sure, until you say, okay, these are the changes I want. So you say commit. You commit the change. So these are not the change I want, so I can remove it. And this is the change I want. So I save, and then I come back to commit the change. And it's in the commit, there are two information you can put. Is the commit message, which is the one that will appear here in the repository. This is the message, the commit message. And then there is a description that appears somewhere else. I'm not sure why the description show. I never used the description before. So here I upload my file. Okay. Then I commit the change. Then that entire change become one commit. And then I push this to the Git, and once it push, everything is so slow. Oh. Okay. So once it puts, all the code is here. My source code is here. My log folder is here, but not the log file because I ignored them. I can open this, and this will GitHub also has a Jupyter viewer. So when I open these Jupyter file, it's rendered to Jupyter for me, but it doesn't have Python renderer. So when I open it, just a text. I'm not so sure I can open HTML. Yeah, I cannot open HTML. It does not render HTML. Then the next thing I want in my GitHub or Git repository is sometimes every project require different things. Maybe we need to have like a data set. We need to have some secret file. We have to configure username, password for some things for the code to access. It's a good practice to put those requirements into the README. Right now, I don't have the README, so there's nothing here. I'm gonna create the README. You can click this one, so the GitHub create a README for you, or you can do it here. New file readme.md. This .md is a markdown language. It's the same one I just showed you this morning. So this is not those. Okay. Okay. So I make my README like this. When you write a README here, this is just a raw text. You don't see how it's rendered. If you want to see how it rendered, you click this one. So when you click this one, it will render the markdown for you. So whatever you type, it will appear here. Similar to what you write in the Jupyter, you execute the markdown cell and it will render this. But here in this scenario, you type and then it just render everything for you. So it's easier to write the markdown this way. This one. If you don't open the markdown, then this button is not appear. Okay, so now I add the README to my repository. I'm gonna commit this README into my repository. So when I only have one file, and the Git desktop automatically suggesting the Git message, the commit message. You either use it or you just type what you want. But I'm okay with this. So click commit, so I don't have to think of what I want to say in the comments. Okay, and then when I refresh this, when you have readme.md, this will become, it will render the readme here. So when it's a good practice to have this. If you open other repository who have developed like a Django, let's say Django. So this is a Django, one of the libraries in Python. And these are their repository. You can trace back their development. But what I want to show here is how the README is done. So it's a good practice to put data information here, especially for sometimes each project requires different things. Even though we want people to just right-click, compose up, and then use our code that way, but not every project designed that way. So we have to specify how to use our projects, and normally we do it in the README. Okay. But if you don't like to write your README in the VS Code, you can also write here. GitHub also has a good, I guess, good. Okay, thanks. Also has a preview, so you can switch back and forth between the code and the preview. And once you make a change, then you commit the change. But now you don't need to push the change because you make a change and commit on the GitHub server, which means at this moment, this repository in the GitHub has one more commit than the local one. So if I come back to this one in my GitHub desktop, I click fetch. It will say it will have one pull, which means there is a new changes in the server, and it's fetch whether when I click fetch, it check the status on the server, and now it's trying to suggest me that there is a new change in the server, and if I want those changes to be accessed in my computer, I pull. And once I pull, now my typing is correct here. Earlier is incorrect. Okay. And you can also add file manually this way. Okay. So now you have a repository. And you have a basic idea of what it is. Now I'm going to try to explain what actually Git is by drawing again. So we have Git, which is similar to Docker. It's a program. So normally when we want to interact with Git, we do it via the command line. So if I go back to Docker, we have a Docker and we have a Docker, and then we interact with the Docker via the command line. Or you use Docker desktop. So the Git currently, because we use the GitHub desktop, we interact the Git. Well, there is a command line version, and then there is a GitHub desktop. So both of this is an interface to interact with the Git. The Git itself is just a set of commands. So the keyword here is a repository. How do I spell this? I keep misspell this. Repository. No, it's repo. Repository. Yeah. This is the keyword. It's a place of packages or folders or projects. I think this one is changes. Another keyword for the Git is changes. Unlike the Google Drive, or unlike saving the file in the USB manually by dragging and copying, and you copy, Git detect the change. So why when I say detect the change, if my folder, this is my folder, have a.text, b.text, and I open this file. So I have this one currently like this. This is the current state of my repository. So then if I add line 3, the Git did not save this file as line 1, line 2, line 3. It's saved as at line 3. And if I commit this one, this will be commit, let's say commit 10. And then next I put, I change this into second line. And then I commit, the change here will be commit 11. Like this. It did not save the entire file into the commit, but it tracked the changes. So every commit is one change. Every time you make a change or every time there is an update, you commit an update. You didn't commit the file. Unless you add a new file, then it's commit a new file. So in this way, you have the ability to trace back what happened in the repository. Maybe today you write one version of code that works. Then tomorrow or 3 days later, you have write another 10 changes. And somehow it doesn't work. So you want to roll back to the version that once was work. So you just pick up this commit and then start from there. So there's no need for you to save separate folder version 10, folder version 11. Every version has been saved as a commit. So you have the ability to go back in time 3 weeks ago automatically. And because of it's only save the changes, even though your entire projects contain 100 megabytes, if the change is only one line of code, the new commit will only contain that new line, that new change. So it's not every commit contain 100 megabyte of files. It's not upload the entire project, it's only track change. So when people who download these projects, clone this repository, they have to take the entire changes along with them. So when you clone my repository, you will get the current state and everything before it. So it's a way to come to from the start until the current. Every step is recorded, and everyone who downloads this repository will have these recorded. Okay. This is Git, and then So now you see the commits and how the commit is supposed to look like, and some comments. So comments, which is the Git message that I create new here. But then there is the two terms, the push and pull. The repository can exist more than one places. So here currently I have the local repository. And the one in the GitHub itself. So there is a term, I think it's the term called master repository or the head of the repository. That will always point to the main source code or the main repository. So I can change this to right. So if I have another laptop, that also have the repository like this, it will also point to this one as the source repository or the master repository. So you can think of this as developer A, developer B, two person working on the same projects. So they have their own version of Git that pull from the GitHub. Okay. The term pull here means we save of downloading the commit, the changes from the main server. So this is pull. And you have changes and you want to publish your changes, we call it push. All of this just to explain the direction of pull and push. So developer B, they can pull, push, but pull and push from the GitHub server because it points to that server. The hated things start when there are two persons working on the same repository. So when we come back to this file, if we come back to this file, this one, if a person A add a new line, line 4, and the other person also make a new line. So instead of line 4, his 4th line. Right. So you can imagine they are trying to make a change on the same file at the same place, but different change. And then we try to, and each of them will have their own commit. So when developer A commit, it will become like this, commit 12. And developer B we commit 12. So each of them trying to work on the same file. They have their own commit, but it's conflict because it's the same place. And now we don't know which one is the right one anymore. So we call it conflict. Its conflict is because first it's make changes on the same place. And I guess it's also here, it's commit index is also the same. So we don't know which one is supposed to come first. If this one is 14, then it's fine because it's the later one. So it's supposed to be the newer one. But this one is the same. So it's conflicts. We don't know which one is the newer one because it's just because it's used this commit number as to make a change, to update the change. So we call it conflicts. In this case, the Git will ask you to choose which one is correct. So I'm not so sure that you will face this early in the semester, but once you work on the same project and use the repository, conflicts will always happen if if you and your friend was on the same files. So normally what we do is we ask one person to work on one file, the other to work on another file, so there won't be a conflict. But this depends whether what you want. Sometimes conflict will happen. And I don't want you to get afraid of conflict because when it's print, the text will be a bunch of breaks. The text is spread everywhere and they say conflict and you will get afraid because it's conflict. It felt like something is broken. But actually the Git asks you a favor to choose how to resolve this conflict, which text you want to keep, which one is correct, which one is not correct, or you want to keep both texts, so one after the others. So you just resolve this conflict by clicking in the Git interface. I don't know how to show you this yet. I think I can. Let me try. Okay. So I'm gonna make sure that both server and the local has the same commit. And now on my local machine, I'm gonna add line 10. And make a commit here, but I'm not gonna push to the server yet. So on the Git server, I pretend to be the other developer and unknowingly how do I spell 10? Line number 10. Okay. So now both repository is now the repository on my local and repository on my server is now has some differences, which is a conflict now. So now I'm trying to push from my local. I don't know that there is the changes on the server, pretend to not know. So I'm trying to push this change to the server. And then there is something. So when I try to push to the server, now the server has a newer commit, has some commits that I don't have. So I need to fetch the newer commits. Now there is two arrows, the up one and the down one. When I try, which this suggests me that I have to pull first. You cannot push your change until your repository is the same as the server. So with this, you don't need to remember that you have to fetch, pull, push. You just click this button until everything is clear. So now I'm gonna pull. And now conflicts. There is a conflict. There is one conflict file. And it asks you to please change, or please fix or resolve this conflict. I can choose which program I'm going to use to fix this conflict. So it's suggesting me to use Visual Code. And this is how it looks like. So it's nicely from the tool version that is the text from the tool version of commit that is conflicted. So there is this one and there is this one on the same line of code. And you just click these, whether you want to accept the change on your computer, the change from what you just pulled, or you just accept both. You just click, or if you don't want to click, you just delete this manually if you don't like clicking. This is what I want. I don't want even 10, I want 11. Once you save, it will be just happy because now you merge the two commits, and this will become another commit. Resolving one conflict will be another commit. So I have to merge, which call merge. So when I merge, I have a newer commit. So instead of one push, I have two pushes. And I should see what? Oh, here. Okay. Conflict is very common. Even though we try to separate the file we work, finally you're gonna face conflict. So prepare yourself. Eventually you have to sit with your friend during the merge and ask which one you want. What did this do? What is this line number 10 mean? And decide together as a team which one is the correct one. Okay. Git ignore, merge, okay. Okay. Then another thing I want to talk about is branch. Here, there is this sort of tree graph things and text main, and there is this branch. When you click this one, there is branches, which means you can have not just main, you can have something else. And if you click this one, it will list down all the branches. So it's the same things because this one will select the branch you want to look at. It is just tell you in summary how many branch you have. So what is branch? I have to go back and draw. The correct way to visualize Git is there is the node as one commit and it's linked to another node, which is a newer commit. So this current one. This is commit like 11. So this commit 10, 9, and this. So one way to visualize it is it's a sort of tree. A tree. When you imagine a tree, there is the branches that when you trace the branch, you keep having a new branch. So this branch will have this branch. Sometimes this will have another 2 branches eventually. So in a similar fashion, the commit can deviate into another branch like this. So this is a tree. Right now, this is a tree. In computer data structure, this is a tree. And at the end here, we call it leaf node. So at the end of the branch, there is a leaf, the green things that doing with absorbing sunlight, we call it the leaf. Yeah, that doesn't matter now. I'm gonna name these as a main, and these as branch 1. These branch 2. Oh, maybe new color. This is branch 3. So no matter what happened, these branches are from the same root. It has to deviate at some point. It does not need to deviate from here, so I can, to better visualize this, can now this node can point to somewhere else above. So why do we need a branch if we can just store everything in the main? The scenario is when you are developing an application that you want to deploy into a production, like a web server or like a web application, you want to make sure that the version you deploy or the version people use is the working one, the one is working, you know is working. So you're gonna save the workable version into the main branch. And when you want to develop a newer version or make a new feature, make an adjustment, but you are not ready to let other people use, we make a new branch to work on those changes. So let's say this is a workable state, but there is a bug. So you're going to make a new branch, fix bug. You're going to make a change, test, make a new change, still fix the bug. Until you satisfy with these changes, like, okay, you're now sure that the bug is fixed. So what we do is we want to roll out these changes for the other people to use. So what we do is we merge 2 branches. It become like this. So we merge the branch, and this will become the new current. And the main branch will now cover to here. Does this make sense? So what are you? So what we are doing? So then, do we delete this branch? So or we just left it here? I think it depends on how you want to manage the branch. If you don't want this branch anymore, I think you can delete. But normally we just left it as is because we already merged and we are okay. So what are these B1, B2, and B3? Sometimes when I work with other people who also involved in the same projects, I try to distribute the work such that it's not conflicting each other. So I can work on feature 1, and I ask my friend to work on feature 2, and these two features are not depending on each other. So they can be on different branch. So I will make a new branch, work on the feature 1, and my friend will make another branch, work on the feature 2. Which one finish first, it doesn't matter because it doesn't depend on each other. So if my friend finished first, after the testing and everything, he just merged his branch back to the main. So now he finished the change. He's gonna merge back to the main. So merging, he will go through all of these, updating his branch to this one, this one, this one, before he can merge. And then once he merged this branch and this commit on his repository, on his local machine, he has to do some other testing. When he's sure, he sent this commit back to the server, and then we send out this version of application to the user that is working. I'm still slow. I'm still working on my feature 1, so I haven't finished. But my friend can publish his feature without waiting for me. And the user, no one else in this entire project, no other branch except this branch has feature 1 that is still in development. And one day, if I decide I don't want this feature anymore, I can just leave it like this without merging. So this is branch, and you don't need to follow this practice. Sometimes you have different practice to use the branch, but I think this is the common way to use the branch. Now, I'm gonna show you the branch. So we are here in the desktop, GitHub desktop. This is the current branch which is named. I think if you use some other Git, they may name the main branch differently. Sometimes it's master, sometimes something else. It depends on which Git you use. So it means there is no actual main. There is just one branch that we designated as a main. It can be master, it can be branch 1. If we just agree to everybody, if everybody agree that this is the main one. So I can make a new branch here. You just read and see what you want. Sometimes you just have some leftover code that you haven't made a commit. You can leave the change here on the main, or you bring those change uncommitted code to the branch. It depends what you want. I'm gonna leave everything on main. Now I make a new branch. So right now in my Git tree, there is one branch, and then there is another one, branch 1. This is another commit, another node that I have to publish if I want this branch to exit in the server. I don't need to publish this branch. if I don't want this to be in the server. People will never see my branch if I never publish this branch. But I'm gonna publish it. So publish branch. Then finally, this will have 2 branches because I just make a new branch, which is branch 1. I think the newest one will say here active branch, or the one with the new change or something. Okay. So now I can make a new change. So let's say this is my feature 1. And I don't have to add anything. I just want a file. Create push. Okay. The GitHub is kind of nice, trying to remind you that there is a newer branch, that the main is not the newest one anymore. So if you want, you can merge the branch by clicking this button, but this depends. So, but what I want to show you is now the main branch does not have feature 1 file. But if I change the branch to the branch 1, I have feature 1. And once I am ready for this feature 1 to be in the active application or whatever you're trying to name it, all I have to do is go. It's not a good practice to merge in here because you want to test first, but so I'm going to show you this one. So I'll go to the main, and then I have to choose the branch to merge to the main. So it's always like this. You are here, and what branch you want to bring in. There is no other way. There is no pushing the branch to the main. There is, you are in the main, what branch you want to merge. Or if you are in branch 2, you want to merge branch 1, you have to change yourself to branch 2, then merge the branch 1 in. Only merge in, no pushing. So I'm going to merge branch 1 into main. And then I push. When I push now, I refresh this. Those messages is gone. Branch 1 has feature 1. And if I go back to main, I have feature 1 now because I merged the 2 branch. Actually, I didn't merge the 2 branch. I merged branch 1 and 2. Okay. I'm not so sure whether I can show you the tree. How will I show the tree? I'm gonna install the kit so that I can show you the tree I was talking about. There is people always visualize it in tree. So there is a way, but I have to install this. But I hate this so much. I don't want my Git. I don't want a Git to exist in my host. But if you're okay with this, then you can install the Git too. But if you're gonna use GitHub desktop anyway, you don't need this Git. Yes, yes. Yes. No. I hate it because it's asked so much question. Okay. So when you install GitHub Desktop, unlike the Docker Desktop, when you install Docker Desktop, it comes with a Docker command. But GitHub Desktop is more like a portable things. So it is the GitHub Desktop does not install Git into your computer. So if you only have GitHub Desktop, when you open this tab, open source code, you won't see this page. But if you have Git, then you can also use the Git here. The changes appear here. You can right click to make change, to commit the change, state change, and then write message here, random modify. And this button is the same as the one in the Git desktop. So it's click to fetch. You just keep clicking until all of this is clear. So click this and send to the push to the server. Basically the same. So maybe this is the choice. You want to use this. I don't want this now. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Basically, if you spend time setting it, then it's basically as the same as a GitHub desktop. What I want to show you is the Git tree. But if I want to do it, I have to install the thing called Git lens. Okay. Now I have these things appear because I have a Git lens extension. I can see all the Git changes. These are the commit I have been commit. I can right click if I want to go back to here. I can right click, revert to this commit. So I go back in time, back to the future. Or actually you can do it here. Line 10, right click, reverse. It's the same. I can show the branches here. Now I want to see the tree. Can you show me the tree? Okay. I done this once. Okay, let's try this one. Can I see the graph? View a graph and easily perform it. Yes. And then how? Here we go. Now, change the name. Okay, right. So this is all the changes as a node, and then it's linked from bottom to top. So this is the old commit, this is newest commit. And these are the merge, where the merge happened. So this is the conflict because we added from the server. And then we merge the two branch here from the server. And finally, I haven't merged the branch, I guess. So the branch one is newer than the main one. Anyway, I don't want you to, the point is not for you to visualize the Git. The point is for you to understand how Git works. So when you click the button, you know what happened. But you don't need to be able to visualize the tree by yourself. We use the tool. Okay, so what next? And now you understand the Git. There is more to the Git. But we can discuss the more advanced, not advanced, but the other features later. For now, this is enough for you to start your Git journey. So what we want is to make sure that bootcamp. What we want is to make sure that our code is not only exists in our computer, but also somewhere else in the internet. So when our computer breaks or you lost all the code, everything in your computer, you still have this file somewhere else that you can just download. You can save this in Google Drive. You can save it on your thumb drive. That depends on you. But the Git provides not only these features, but provided you can go back in time, you can make branches, you can do this and that, and it's all the documents. It can be one of the documents for you to go back and see the changes. If you do the commit, if you document your commit very well. But that is another topic, whether you, how and when is we can call it a commit. You can just keep commit every new character if that's what you want, but that would be a bit extreme. Branches, okay. Right. Okay, yeah. So what we did for this one, bootcamp -1, is I create a repository on the GitHub server first. I pull the Git, and then I copy the code from the code we written this morning into this repository. What you can also do is you create this folder, initialize this folder as a repository. So it's the other way. So there are two ways you can have a repository. You either initiate a blank repository and then copy the code you want into it, or you already have a folder and then you tell Git that now this is the repository. So we're going to do the second one. Okay, I didn't do this every time, so I have to make sure that I'm not wrong. You can go here if you already have a folder with the code inside, but you forget to make a repository. So you add a local repository in the GitHub desktop. You choose the folder you want to make a repository. So in this case, it's bootcamp without the dash. And then the GitHub desktop will detect that this is not yet a repository. So it asks whether you want to create a repository or create this as a repository. So how does it know that this one is not a repository? I want to explain this for 5 minutes. The reason why it knows that this one is not a repository and this one is a repository is because hidden. Yeah. It's because where are the commit it kept is .git folder. And it's a hidden folder. So when you just open the folder, you don't see it. You have to ask the window to display the hidden folder nicely. But this one doesn't have .git folder. So that is how it detects. So if you want to delete the repository, all you have to do is delete this .git folder, then it's become just a folder, not a repository anymore. Create repository, name, description. Yeah, these are the same information you fill in when you create a repository in the GitHub. Okay, now I'm gonna watch this as it has the .git initialized. And I think it spent time detecting all the files I create, especially in the VS Code server. So a better way to do this is when you want to start a new project, you start with a new repository first, create a repository, and then you start developing instead of once you have developed something and then you initialize the Git later. That it's not it's not wrong, but you can end up waiting like this. I normally create a repository first because it's okay. Even at the end, the project that you are working is not, you want to remove this out of your history. So you go here, setting, and find delete this repository. So you remove this out of the GitHub. So you can just create repository how many you want. One day you don't want it anymore, you just delete it. Or you can archive or change visibility to private. I think this would take forever. So okay. So that's 1 hour and a half. And I think I have covered what I want you to know. So basically improvement from this morning is now our source code is here in the GitHub server, which now enable your safetiness, because we have another version of code live in the GitHub. And now every time, even though you're not going to manage your commits, but it's a better before you shut down everything, you commit the change and push to the GitHub. Just make it a habit. Then you will be safe. Unless there is a data set that you need to re-download, or maybe you collect the data yourself, then you have to, and then you don't want to publish these data sets, or the data is too big to store in the repository. So you have to manage those yourself. Things broken. The directory does not appear. Yes, create for me. What? Oh, I think it's managed to save every VS Code file for me. No. Yeah. So if I find bootcamp, where's the bootcamp one? Here. Oh, it's a private. Okay. Yeah, this is bad. The one thing that I haven't mentioned, that once the Git add these file into the repository, and then you decide later that you don't want this file to be tracked, it's much more difficult to now trying to remove these files from the repository, because at one point in the Git tree, there is these changes that you already, maybe you remove it, or if you remove it and you make a change, finally someone can go back in time, find the commits that contain these files. So the only way, if you want to remove these files cleanly from the Git, is you have to revert to the commit that saved these files, and then you remove, and then you ignore them since those commits. So you have to be extra careful when you're trying to commit something like username, password, your API key, something that you don't want to share to the global world. Because once you commit, then it's easy if it's only one commit and then you revert that commit. But if you notice it's like 10 days later, once you have another 100 commits, I don't even know how to fix it. At that point, I would just make a new repository. Yeah. Okay. So I think that's all for the GitHub. If you have questions, you can ask now. Okay. So I think that's done for the bootcamp. Thank you for coming, and I hope that you have a good rest, because I think you have to come for the orientation on Friday. Do you have a room yet? A room like a dorm? Okay. So some of you don't. You don't have a room, or you have a room in AIT? Okay, I don't even know what's happening. Because when you are in AIT, you're supposed to have like a dorm room, because you have to stay in AIT. That's what they want. I don't know whether they give the room now, or back 5 years ago, I have to come tomorrow, one day before the orientation day. Everybody had to come and then get the room. Every one day they ask you to come and get the room. Anyway, if you have, I don't know why I'm asking or discussing this topic. I just don't know what to say. The semester start on Monday. If you are not sure where to start or what to do, I think the first thing is to meet your professor, your advisor, and then he or she will guide you step by step, I hope. Get what? Get advisor. By this Friday, when you come for the orientation, you should get AIT account. Somehow, I forget how I get the AIT account, but the email start with st something at AIT.asia or AIT.ac.th. It's the same domain, whether you use ACTH or Asia. On that day, the AIT administration will explain the entire day, everything's about AIT, starting from how you're gonna live here, how the policy we have, the restriction, distribute this account, what are the services AIT is providing, including maybe a free license to Windows. So they're gonna talk that day, like the whole day. So at the end of the day, I think since the beginning, since the morning, you will get the AIT account, and then you have to do something to activate the account, reset the password. And once you have that, you can access AIT Wi-Fi with your account, not this one. And then you can go to SIS. We have this system, SIS.AIT. So you put your account that you activate here. Put my one. So here, this is like a registry website. So when you can access it, you can find, or if I click it, you can see my transcript. Here. Here. Oh, it's still my phone. Anyway, yeah, you have your advisor here. So all I want to say is you can find your advisor name here. But if you want to change your advisor later, it's possible. Normally, they will assign advisor probably randomly. And once you finish all your coursework, and then you have decide what thesis you want to do, or discuss with the faculty and make an agreement. Then at that time, you going to change the advisor to the faculty you are working the one who are going to do thesis with you. So I guess just sit tight, be prepared, sleep well, have enough sleep, because once the semester starts, a couple of weeks later, since the start, you will have no time to sleep. That's like always true. Okay, so thank you. See you on next week in the machine learning class. All of you is data science student. No one is not information management. Are you enrolling machine learning too? Okay. Yeah, see you in machine learning.